Hey everyone, welcome back. In our last video, we subtracted 1 and 2 digit numbers, and in this video, we'll be subtracting 3 and 4 digit numbers. Don't let more digits worry you, not much changes. Remember, the same rules apply. And if there is anything you don't understand or need help with, remember, I'm here to help you. You can just send me a message and I'll be glad to help. For our first problem, let's start with something easy. 215 minus 12. The first thing we want to do is come to the first column on the right, just as we've been doing in previous problems where we have 5 minus 2. I want to use my blue circles to illustrate the subtraction and so you can see how we arrive at our answer. So 5 minus 2 is going to give us 3. Next, we move on to the next column on the left where we have 1 minus 1, which is going to give us 0 since anything minus itself is going to equal 0 because it cancels itself out. Next, we move on one more time to the left where we have 2 by itself and we simply carry it down because any number that remains by itself at the end of the problem is just going to carry itself down. Great. As you can see, not much changes when you subtract the more digits. The same rules still apply. But just for practice sake, let's keep doing a few more problems because practice is how you become good at math. For our next problem, let's take a look at 527 minus 163. The first thing we want to do is come to the column on the right where we have 7 minus 3, which is going to give us 4 when we take away the 3. Next, we move on to the column on the left where we have 2 minus 6. And as we've seen before in subtraction, when you have a larger number on the bottom and a smaller number on top, we have to borrow from the next number on the left. So we put a line over our 5 and it becomes a 4. And since we borrowed 1, our 2 becomes a 12. Great. Now we can say 12 minus 6 is going to give us 6. Now, we move on to our next column on the left where we have 4 minus 1, which is going to give us 3. For our next problem, let's take a look at 4,847 minus 435. As I'm sure you know by now, the first step when solving a problem is coming to our first column on the right where we have 7 minus 5, which is going to give us 2. Next, we move on to our next column on the left where we have 4 minus 3, which is going to give us 1. Next, we move on again to the left where we have 8 minus 4, which is going to give us 4. And for our last step, we have 4 by itself, so we just carry it down. Great. Let's do one more of these problems so you can get the hang of it and we can move on to our next topic. For our next problem, let's take a look at 8,619 minus 1,245. The first thing we want to do is come to the first column on the right as we've been doing in all our previous problems, where we have 9 minus 5, which is going to give us 4. Next, we move on to our next column on the left, where we have 1 minus 4. As you've seen before, when we have a smaller number on the top and a bigger number on the bottom, we have to borrow from the next column on the left, which in this case is our 6. Immediately, we want to put a line over our 6 so we know it no longer holds its value and it becomes a 5. And our 1 becomes an 11. Now we can say 11 minus 4 equals 7. Next, we move again to the left where we have 5 minus 2, which is going to give us 3. And for our last step, we move one more time to the left where we have 8 minus 1, which is going to give us 7. I hope you feel very proud of yourself. We've covered a lot so far and practiced on a lot of problems. And yet to come are a lot of amazing things you'll learn if you stick with me and keep watching the course. In our next section, I'll be introducing you to multiplication by giving you a detailed explanation of what is multiplication and why it's important to know how to multiply, followed by us going over the multiplication table, and best of yet, doing a lot of multiplication problems to practice and become better at math. I appreciate you watching this video and look forward to seeing you in the very next section.